Let's just dive right into one of the most incredibly popular ideas out there about how our minds actually work. Welcome to this explainer. If you've ever, spent any time thinking about how your own mind operates, or maybe why you're drawn to certain hobbies over others, you've almost certainly bumped into this concept. We're talking about what science actually says regarding the left and right brain.
Millions of people proudly wear these labels like badges of honor. They just kind of assume the left side of their head is this purely logical, calculating machine, and the right side, well, that's this entirely artistic, free-flowing canvas. I mean, we use these phrases everywhere, in schools, at work, just in casual conversation, basically to define exactly who we are and what we're uniquely capable of doing.
So, we've got to ask the big question here. Left brain versus right brain. Is it actually a fact, or is it just a massive myth? In this explainer, we're tackling this mystery head-on. We really want to see if these rigid little categories hold up to modern science. But to truly get to the bottom of this, to understand how your brain actually does its thing, we first need to look at the physical reality of human anatomy. We need to figure out why this idea even exists in the first place. Physically speaking, the human brain is divided into two distinct halves, the left and right hemispheres. But, and this is crucial, they are not isolated islands. They are intimately connected by the corpus callosum. Think of this as a thick, critical bundle packed with hundreds of millions of nerve fibers. It basically allows both halves of your brain to act like expert teammates. They are constantly communicating, just firing complex information back and forth in fractions of a second. Neither side could possibly do the whole job alone.
But the origin of this whole left versus right theory, it actually started with a very real, very serious medical intervention. Decades ago, scientists got super curious about the distinct sides of the brain when they were studying patients with severe epilepsy. To stop abnormal, seizure-inducing signals from just spreading like wildfire across the whole brain, doctors sometimes had to medically cut that connection we just talked about, the corpus callosum. Because their hemispheres couldn't communicate anymore, the medical community started calling these individuals split brain patients.
And when studying these split brain patients, researchers made a truly profound discovery. They found very real, highly specific specializations for each side. The left hemisphere, it was usually the heavy lifter for language, speaking, reading, writing, and logical reasoning. Meanwhile, the right hemisphere was generally way better at recognizing faces, judging distances, interpreting emotions, and picking up on visual patterns. This totally validates why we started categorizing brain functions in the first place. The initial science was absolutely real and, frankly, groundbreaking.
But here is where the story takes a pretty wild turn. Somewhere along the way, pop culture got a hold of this nuanced science and, well, completely misunderstood the findings. People took the fact that certain areas specialize in certain tasks and just incorrectly assumed that a whole person relies on only one side of their brain to navigate daily life. That pervasive, everyday idea that you can be uniquely right-brained or left-brained, it was literally born out of this grand misunderstanding of medical research.
So the really crucial point here is that when we look at modern fMRI scans, that old myth just completely falls apart. When researchers actually observe people reading a book or painting a picture, playing an instrument, or even doing complex math, the scans light up everywhere. Both hemispheres of the brain are highly active, cooperating continuously. Your brain functions as this one highly connected symphony, not as two separate personalities just fighting for control over what you do.
Let's actually deconstruct creativity for a second to see how this builds. A lot of people think writing a great story is purely right brain imagination. But think about what writing actually requires. Yes, you absolutely need imagination to dream up characters and ideas. But at the exact same time, you need language, you need grammar, memory, planning, structural organization. All those latter skills, they heavily rely on left hemisphere networks. Writing a story utilizes vast neural networks spread completely across both sides of your brain, working perfectly in tandem.
And this brilliantly illustrates the exact same truth for logic. People love to say mathematicians are purely left-brained thinkers, but math isn't exclusively left-brained, not at all. Solving a complex equation actively demands spatial thinking, visualization, and pattern recognition from the right hemisphere too. It demands attention and memory. Without both sides actively working together, solving these kinds of problems would be incredibly difficult, if not downright impossible.
And this amazing cooperation isn't just reserved for high-level tasks like calculus or writing novels. Even an everyday physical task, like just catching a ball, requires profound teamwork across the brain. One hemisphere is rapidly calculating the movement and timing of the ball in the air, while the other is simultaneously coordinating your muscles and your balance so you don't just fall right over. Without constant communication between the two, even the simplest daily tasks would be a massive struggle.
Which brings us to a really fascinating question. If our brains so clearly function as one highly connected system rather than two separate personalities, why on earth has this myth survived for so long? I mean, why do we still cling to these left brain, right brain labels in our modern, super science-driven world?
Honestly, the answer lies in the power of simple categories. It's just human nature. We love to organize the world to make sense of it, and it's incredibly satisfying and easy to categorize ourselves and others as simply creative or logical. It gives us this quick, easily digestible shorthand for our identities. But while these simple labels are super easy to remember, every single person's actual brain is vastly more complex and capable than a simple binary category could ever allow.
Instead of those static, limiting labels, modern science offers us something so much more empowering: neuroplasticity. This means you literally thicken specific brain-wide neural networks through practice and experience. This is your brain's amazing ability to change, adapt, and build new connections throughout your entire life based on your habits and what you learn. You aren't stuck being just a logical person or a creative person. The more you practice a skill, whether that's coding a website, solving a puzzle, or painting a landscape, the stronger those specific pathways become. You are literally building your own brain.
And just to add another fascinating layer to this whole thing, consider how this physically maps to your body. Even though the hemispheres work tightly together for cognitive tasks, each one actually crosses over to control physical movements on the opposite side of your body. The left hemisphere mainly directs the right side of your body, and the right hemisphere commands the left side. This crossing of nerve pathways is just a brilliant, intricate design that really highlights just how incredibly integrated the whole system actually is.
So what's the final verdict on the whole left brain versus right brain debate? Well, it's a bit of both, but honestly, it's mostly a myth. While it is a scientific fact that certain functions, like language or facial recognition, are more specialized in one hemisphere than the other, the popular belief that you are inherently a left-brained or right-brained person, that is definitively a myth. Almost everything you do depends on both sides acting as one unified team.
To truly appreciate the scale of this teamwork, I want you to consider this number for a second: 86 billion. Your brain doesn't awkwardly divide you in half. Instead, it combines countless specialized areas using around 86 billion individual neurons. And these neurons? They are constantly exchanging information across thousands of connections every single second of your life. It is just an extraordinary machine capable of learning, adapting, and creating. And it does all of that by utilizing its entire integrated network. So the next time someone tries to box you into just one category, telling you that you're only a logical person or only an artistic person, just remember the extraordinary teamwork happening inside your head right now. You have this vast, dynamic network ready to adapt to whatever you challenge it with. Which leaves us with one final, exciting question for you to ask yourself as we wrap up this explainer: what amazing new connections will your unified brain build today?